Welcome to Lead Her Higher, a podcast sharing the stories of women transforming education through leadership. I'm your host, Emily MacLean. Today's conversation is with Karen Jurjevich, a leader whose 26-year tenure as Principal of Branksome Hall shaped generations of young women. Our conversation is all about the evolution of leadership, empowering women and girls, and the lessons learned from risk, failure, and resilience. You're going to love her insights on balancing tradition with innovation and how she navigated the challenges and rewards of leading in a girls' school environment. Let's get into it. Let's start with her story. So welcome, Karen. It's such a pleasure to have you here on the Lead Her Higher podcast today.
Thanks, Emily. So happy to be with you. So proud of you and everything that you've accomplished. I can't even imagine.
You've dedicated your life to education and leadership, and I know that so many educators, myself included, have been inspired by your work, and I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to connect with you and chat a little bit more today. So, Karen, you've interviewed me a few times when I was going through the process for my current role, and you also reminded me that when I first started at Branksome, you interviewed me and two other colleagues as a way for the community to get to know us a little bit more. And so I finally get to turn the mic around and have a full circle moment and interview you. So let's start at the beginning. What drew you into educational leadership?
What led me to education? I was born with the teacher gene, I guess you might say. I wanted to be a teacher from the time I was a young person. I'm one of those people that are truly blessed. I guess maybe I saw it as a calling, but I had great influencers along the way who were my favorite teachers, and I just loved school and I wanted to be in education. So I followed my dream. And at every age and stage of my life, I had the right people there to encourage me and to advise me. And that got me into my first role as a teacher, teaching physical and health education and history in a small community just outside of London, Ontario. And then many things happened along the way, both in provincial schools in Ontario, out to British Columbia, back to Ontario, working for the Northwark Board of Education, Havergal College, and then Branksome. So lots of great experiences that took me along the way.
Mm-hmm. And were there any real pivotal moments that brought you into leadership that made you decide to step into that leadership role as a principal?
Yes, absolutely. I can remember finishing my Master's of Education degree and having had work experience in British Columbia and getting back to Ontario to a school that I had worked at previously and realizing that I'm fully equipped to do this next level of leadership, which was available to me. And I think it's that old adage, when you have opportunity and preparedness and you're standing on the corner. I felt in myself, I'm standing on the corner. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and get that next step. So that's all about opportunity, I think.
Mhm.
And then I also think the encouragement of the right people along the way to advise me and encourage me, or help me hit the stop button and say, think about a few other things. And one of those people would have been, to be honest, one of my university professors, which is great. Another one would have been my superintendent of education when I was in the Northwark board. So different people who I got the chance to work for, who I learned so much from, were really pivotal in my leadership journey. Finally, I think circumstances also encouraged me. I experienced a provincial teacher strike, Ontario province-wide strike, and felt very uncomfortable about that and concerned. And around that time, I had the chance to apply and be the successful candidate for Branksome. So I guess that's circumstantial as well.
Mm-hmm. So many students and educators have been so lucky that those opportunities and circumstances went your way because you had such sustained leadership. And that's so rare to be in a role for, was it 26 years you were principal at Branksome Hall?
26 years. I know,
Absolutely
somebody
incredible.
reminded me that's more than a quarter of a century, by the way.
Well, it is an impressive feat. And that longevity really does give you a unique perspective. And the world changed so much during that time with your
Yeah.
students, the school, and also ourselves as leaders changed. So, with that time and experience, I'm really curious about how your understanding of success evolved and how do you define success now compared to when you first stepped into that role?
I think when you say the word success, I think, okay, success for myself, but then that extends to your professional life and success for the institution, the school, the business, whatever it is that you're doing, and how you measure that. But I would say, seeing the results of not only my labor, but the labor and the effort and the energy and the excitement that the team would put into something. And we had so many opportunities to do that because Branksome was such a school that was evolving, right? We evolved so far in 25, 26 years. But to see ourselves set a strategy, set some goals, some outcomes, measure them, and see it come to reality, like, that only happens when you're working with the right people and everybody's on board and taking risks and trusting each other. I mean, Branksome Hall Asia is one of the best examples, bringing in the International Baccalaureate. Oh my gosh, we didn't know what we didn't know back in 1998, 1999, but we became a success story. So it was everybody sort of pulling together that really, I think, would measure success. And finally, I guess on a personal level, for me, success is that I'm always learning, I'm meeting new people. I can step back and say, wow, I didn't know what I didn't know. And this environment, these people, this experience, sometimes stuff has taught me so much. I declare victory, and that's success.
One of the things I always admired about you, Karen, is that you are a lifelong learner. And I think having that mindset really keeps you humble when you're in leadership.
Oh, so true, Emily. Yeah, absolutely. You never rest on your laurels, right?
Hmm.
I think the minute you begin doing that, you do a disservice to your institution, the organization you're leading. Never think you've arrived because the next challenge is just around the corner, especially in education, where we have the responsibility to think, what is the next thing for these young people? In our case, the young women of Branksome Hall. We don't even know the world they're stepping into. However, as leaders, we better do our best to get ahead of the game as much as possible to ensure that we're helping them be ready for that crazy, exciting world they're entering that nobody, even now more than ever, nobody understands. So yeah, don't get
Hmm.
too comfortable. It's
Never.
not allowed. It's not allowed in leadership, I don't think.
You need to stay uncomfortable and ready for anything at any point.
Yeah, yeah, and embrace that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a girls' school, and leading in a girls' school is something that's near and dear to both our hearts. It has such a unique energy, and in that environment, it brings out so much in the girls. So I was really curious about how a girls' school environment really shaped your approach to leadership, and particularly your work in empowering young women to find their voices and really step into their own potential.
Mm, yeah. So exciting, isn't it? It's a privilege, actually. The first thing that comes to mind is, Emily, you know this, and I don't think you were there, but it was such a pleasure to have Gloria Steinem at Branksome Hall. We had her there for a full day, and then in the evening, we hosted her at University of Toronto. She said so many tidbits of wisdom, but in answer to your question, I always remember her saying, yes, girls/women, you can have it all, but you cannot do it all.
Mm.
And so I think we must remember that when we are in the business of educating young women, that it's good to encourage them to think you can have it all. But the meaning behind you can't do it all is allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to say, I'm not there yet. Thank you, Carol Dweck.
Mhm.
you know, I can do this if we're a team. I'm willing to throw out these crazy ideas, but you will find that women and girls are very collaborative and connected. That's the beauty of working in a girls' school and hopefully being a role model that demonstrates that, because it's never just one person. And I think for some reason women and girls intrinsically know that, and they want to work together and see great things happen. So that's part of the basis of the energy that I have had from working in an all girls school. And I have to say one other thing. I didn't grow up in an all girls school, or many people know I'm from Northern Ontario, where we didn't have independent schools. I went to a great public school and had fun growing up in Sault Ste. Marie. It was fantastic. My first experience in an all girls school was I took a mat leave at Havergal College, 1988. I got married and moved to Toronto. I was looking for a job and I was so grateful. And I'd never heard of Havergal College. I didn't understand this all girls thing. And I remember thinking to myself, everything in this institution, and be it Havergal or Branksome or any of the other fabulous girls' schools in this country or Toronto, everything we do is for girls. And because it's all set out for girls, they do it all. Like
Mhm.
they do everything. And it was a fabulous kind of moment for me in that first year. Unfortunately, I got to stay at Havergal for 4 years before I moved on to my next opportunity. But think that moment in time when you realize we're here to inspire girls to have confidence, competence, and connectedness, that you don't have to worry about them. They'll get out there to university, they'll have voice, they'll have confidence, and they'll have each other. A beautiful experience for me.
Mhm.
Glad you asked that question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we've been talking about girls with grit in the junior school a lot this year.
Mhm.
And all the things you speak to are such important themes to instill in the girls at such a young age.
We're seeing at a younger age more and
Mhm.
more. When we bought the Noodle Junior into the junior school, I mean, and program in entrepreneurship, those young girls, Emily, and good on you because you said we need it in the junior school. It's fabulous, Karen, that we've got it in the middle and senior school. You were so right. I look back on those Noodle Junior events and think, these young girls, there's no holding them back.
They might be young, but they sure are mighty, and they can definitely hold their own.
Yeah, and that's a big responsibility that we hold as leaders in girls' schools. Do not underestimate age and stage. Not at
Never.
all.
And do not underestimate girls.
Exactly.
So we've been talking about Toronto, and Toronto has a number of independent schools with such rich history.
Yes.
And at the same time, innovation is always knocking at the door. And there's this tension between honoring tradition and moving forward. How did
Mm.
you balance with respect to Branksome, the long-standing traditions with the need to innovate, push boundaries, and try new things?
Hmm. I learned a lot along the way. Can I say that to begin with? I deeply appreciated the traditions of Branksome Hall and really, really understood that I as the privileged principal, seventh principal at Branksome Hall, I only stood on the shoulders the women who had gone before me and who were amazing and great, and that made a big imprint on me. So I really value tradition. And I often think that there are new schools opening up all the time. They long for tradition. They long for the grounding and the foundation that Branksome Hall is built on. And we as a school, we had that.
Mhm.
Having said that, how do we still progress in the way that I just explained to you? We have a huge obligation to prepare girls academically, socially, emotionally for the world that is evolving. So I think it gets back to something called your basic values as a school and as an organization. For us, it was, what is this school built on? And what
Mhm.
does Branksome Hall really stand for? as a women's institution and as a school with foundational values that I think at the heart reflect what the IB says. Those who think differently can also be right. I think that is at the heart of Branksome. So if you can find a way to manage with keeping true to the values and the foundation of the school, but also educating yourself and the people around you and all of the fabulous community members, centuries of alum who built the school and supported the school, to understand we still have to evolve and prepare girls for the future. I think that's the secret sauce. It's not easy, but if you go about it collaboratively and take the time to get the input and ask for advice along the way, I think you can do it. And I think that's what we did well at Branksome. I hope so.
Yeah, that balance is so tricky. And you clearly approached it with such thoughtfulness, grounding it in the values and honoring what
Yeah.
matters while still asking, how can we do things differently and how can we do things better in the service of our students? So I really
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Emily.
Uh-huh.
Values are so important to an institution.
And you know, as well as I do, that leadership often asks us to make hard choices and
Yeah.
sometimes unpopular ones. Was there ever a time when sticking with the status quo would have been a safer choice, but maybe you decided to push forward with that change anyways? And how did you
Mm.
manage that pushback both personally and institutionally?
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, you don't make any decision that is challenging the status quo on your own.
Mhm.
And if you do, good luck. So I think that's number one. So if we were challenging the status quo, it wasn't without careful consultation and conversation with my team, with the board, maybe with past board members, with alum, with parents to say, you know, give me more knowledge and input and understanding about why we have conflicting views and this feels to be possibly a conflict or a challenge on what might be called the status quo.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's number one. You never do it alone. Number two, communication is so important, right, Emily?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so how one communicates, and it takes time and it
Uh-huh.
takes real heart. And be prepared to communicate in a manner that addresses the concerns, the individual, and the common understandings, and work together with people. And you'll get through it. And also at the same time, understand you will not please everyone. But if you have the knowledge and the conviction of your decision and have researched it and bought time when you needed to, you'll be okay. You'll be
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. It's such a delicate dance, making those tough calls while keeping people engaged and inspired. It really takes real courage,
Yeah.
and those risks are really a big part of leadership. But failure often teaches us more than success. Is there a time that you took a risk that maybe didn't go according to plan? And what did it
Mm.
teach you that success really could have never taught you?
Oh, I think failure for me, if I look back at my tenure at Branksome Hall, probably came when I made decisions too quickly or reacted on emotion and not the ability to hunker down and think things through and consult wisely. That kind of failure probably cost me the ability to have stronger people around the table because I acted too quickly. And I think decisions like that came probably in the first round of COVID because we were just, I mean, how many times, Emily, did we say as a team, what was that expression? The airplane's in the air, but yeah, and we're building the airplane.
Building the plane as we fly it.
Yeah. I don't know that we considered everything well enough and made the best decisions, but it felt like what we needed to do. It's such an unusual time, COVID, but
Mhm.
that comes to mind. So I think that's probably what I would associate with failure because I feel that I always had the chance to learn from opportunities like that. And in fact, I can bring you right up to date. Here I am. I'm have a new company, KJ and Co. I was so determined to become an entrepreneur when I retired from Branksome Hall. I loved my 26 years and I loved this opportunity. And I set a course. I built a website. I had my passionate ideas. And I'm realizing now that, hey, Karen, you've had a few successes, but you've had quite a few rejections. So I don't like the word pivot because I think it's highly overused, but I am rethinking how I go about and the things that I said no to. Well, maybe I could have said yes, but I'm a rookie. I'm new. I'm the founder and president of KJ and Co. So this kind of failure is it makes me smile a little bit as I explain it to you because it's not to do anything with Branksome. It's to do with me starting all over again at my age and stage, creating a new company. But brilliant, brilliant learning. And so I don't feel that I can't continue, but I do understand when we say to young women today, it's okay to fail because it causes you to rethink,
Mhm.
refocus, regroup, and become excited about this next path that is related to your goals, but maybe not exactly what you set out to do.
And I think it's so important that women and girls see that failure is okay and it's okay not to be perfect all the time and debunk that idea. And so the more we talk about examples like you're saying right now, as you're starting over, you're starting from the ground and building from the bottom up. It's important that they hear that message as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I look back, Emily, at the times when, we would have opportunities in assembly to speak to the girls, or other people would be guest speakers, and it's okay to fail, okay to fail. And sometimes I used to think, yeah, who wants to fail? Well, now I'm failing. I mean, I've had a few successes, don't get me wrong, I'm still standing. But this is why I've reached out to some of the amazing alumni who are amazing entrepreneurs or other people that guided you and me and the rest of the team when we embarked on our noodle campaign and our innovation agenda because they were living the experience that I'm living now. So they knew so much more, but now I can actually say, yep, I'm like you, maybe not as successful yet. So I get this failure business in spades and and guess what? People don't return your calls. Who knew?
Oh, but it also goes to show the importance of building your network so that you can reach out to those people. And maybe not everyone will reach out back to you, but the more you reach out to people that are in your network, the more they're more likely willing to help.
I chose to primarily work in London, UK, new city, new country, still have back and forth to Canada, of course, still have connections there. But when you're in a new country, in a new city, nobody knows you. So you're
Mhm.
starting from scratch. So, but yeah, like lots of people don't return your calls.
But it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time.
It's good for me. Yeah, yeah, and I'm growing like crazy and rethinking every day, and feel fortunate that I'm able to do this at my age and stage of life. Yeah.
And so we've been talking a lot about leadership and women in leadership, and being a woman in leadership has its own dynamics. Were there
Mhm.
times ever when you felt that gender presented challenges for yourself, and how did you navigate that?
You know, during my experience at Branksome, the fact I was operating in an all women's, all girls environment, you kind of forget how tough it is. Um, as you know, I had the chance to study in the executive program through the Stanford Graduate School of Business. So, packed my bags, off I went for 8 weeks to live in Silicon Valley and study at Stanford. And to begin with, out of our cohort, I think there was 100 and maybe 160 people, something like that, two groups, and two-thirds men, one-third women. So that's just interesting to begin with. and then you're put in your study groups. So when you're in your study group, I can remember my first group, there was 9 men and 3 women. And one of the women who was brilliant, second language learner, Russian. The other was an American and me. And how strong the men dominated the voices in our study group in our Stanford Executive Program. So that was a time when I felt quite strongly about asserting my voice to the degree that I know enough to be here. I'm qualified to be here. I might not know enough about what the current topic is, but how you insert your voice, and stronger than probably I had been in the previous 20 years. So that would be one example.
Mhm.
I also have the great opportunity to sit on a publicly traded board. And that has been an experience where there's more men than women. There's 12 of us on the holding company of the board, but it's almost the opposite because there seems to be an eagerness there of maybe due to the maturity and the professionalism of the board members that they want to hear more from the women's voice. But so I've had 2 experiences, but in both cases, I hate to say it, but I did have a bit of the imposter syndrome. That does come up. So, I mean, I think those are my 2 best examples, Emily.
That's so interesting to hear even from you, Karen, that you sometimes feel that imposter syndrome, because that would be something I
Yeah.
would have thought from you. But
Yeah,
I
well,
appreciate you sharing
thanks.
that piece.
And those are experiences that have nothing to do with Branksome Hall. So, it's easy to be a big fish in your own pond, right? And one must always remember it is your own pond.
So if you think forward then, what's one challenge for emerging women leaders that might catch them by surprise that you could give them some advice on?
Ah, yeah. Look, I think in today's day and age, and I'm not knowledgeable enough on this, but I'm trying to get on top of it. But anything to do with the world of AI and technology and how fast everything is changing is a challenge for men and women alike. And so that's just I think a piece that is out there. I think the other thing is the traditional model still that women will be the primary caregiver is changing, fortunately, but I still think that women can fall into it a little too easily, and that they need to stand up for what they want to do with their own lives, be it in the world of work or being a full-time stay-at-home parent, whatever they decide. But they need to be willing to stand up for what they need in terms of growth and their own well-being.
Yeah, that's such helpful advice and perspective to have.
Yeah, it's I don't think it changes that much, Emily. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
There's so much going on in the world right now, isn't there?
There sure is.
Yeah. Tough time.
So let's change the topic then to the people who have supported us along the way. So at Lead Her Hire, we like to do a segment called Because of Her, because so much of leadership is shaped by the people who walk alongside us, those who challenge us and support us and help us see what's possible. And in my last episode, you were one of the people that I shared about. And so I'd love to turn it over to you and your journey. Who has been a woman who has led you higher,
Yeah.
someone who's really had an impact on your leadership journey?
Well, the first person that comes to mind is a woman, Veronica Lacey. And in my age and stage, that would be a name that educators would know, maybe less you. But she was the first female director of a public school board in the North York Board of Education, Veronica Lacey. Yeah, and then she went on to become the Deputy Minister of Education and many other positions. And at the time when I was still a teacher, she hired me to become a vice principal in the North York Board of Education. And there was a few of us that were young, aspiring women leaders in our 30s, and we got appointed to become vice principals in the North York Board of Education. And I can remember sitting there, in August when she would be giving her address to all of the principals and vice principals. So I found Veronica just so courageous and somebody that I just hugely, hugely admired. So professionally, she gets my vote.
It sounds fantastic.
She really was. And then, of course, personally, I have spoken frequently about my mother. And you've heard me speak about my mom. Look, she lived to the ripe age of 94, God bless her. Widowed when she was 38 years old with 4 kids. And and I was the second eldest of four. My mom taught me and my sister and the two younger brothers a lot. So always a role model for me. The courageous life that my mother led.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you and I have talked about our mothers, haven't we?
Yeah. Mothers are so important about the person
They
that you
are.
become. And your mother, from all I've heard from you, is someone who is resilient, who like to have fun. And I
Yeah.
see those characteristics just in you in just spades.
Yeah, yeah, she did what she needed to do,
Mhm.
and I know for you it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we wrap up, let's have a little bit of fun with some short and fast questions to see a little
Okay.
bit about the person behind the leader that you are. So what is one thing you wish you knew as a first year leader?
Time management.
That is a good one and will
Yikes.
get you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's a book you recommend that all leaders in education read?
Ooh, okay, that has to be sometimes given the time, but most recently, Fei Fei Li, she wrote that fabulous book. I think I gave it to you and everybody on the senior leadership team, The Worlds I See. It's personal. She's an AI leader, but she tells her personal story. I just find that book captivating. I think I also shared with you Mustafa Suleiman, The Coming Wave, because these are the things that I found scary as a leader. And that I said, okay, but I can be prepared. Lisa Demore, if you're running a girls' school, I don't care what she writes. And I just recently here in London had the great privilege to meet Jenny Anderson. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a writer for the New York Times and an author of a number of books. She lives here. She lives in the UK, but she worked for the New York Times in New York. She just released a book called The Disengaged Teenager or
Mm.
Disengaged Teen, I think it's called. Brand new. So I would recommend that. And then, there's all the old good stuff, right? Stephen Covey and Jim Collins and Peter Diamandis, anything to do with Singularity University. So there you go. There's a bunch of things old and new together.
If you could describe your leadership in 3 words, what would they be?
Oh, energetic, passionate, curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, made
Um
everybody crazy.
No, not at all. One song that always reminds me of you is September. We used to do a video at the beginning of the year to send out to parents, and every September I hear that song and I'm always thinking of you.
Yeah.
What's a song that gets you in the mood to make the most of your day?
Oh gosh. Well, I kind of like Van Morrison. I kind of like Alicia Keys. When she sings New York, I feel like, yeah, I can conquer anything. I don't know. Those are artists, not particular songs. I don't know. Sometimes I put Adele on because I don't even know what she's going to sing, but man, that woman can sing.
It's got a voice, that's for sure.
Yeah. How's that? Is that good enough?
That's great. I've seen Alicia Keys live and she is quite
Oh,
a voice.
mm,
Yeah. Okay, last question, Karen. What
sure.
does the phrase lead her higher mean to you?
I think we have an obligation to be exceptional role models as leaders of women's institution. And by that, I mean we must be kind, we must be trustworthy, believable. There's no room to be phony or try to skate around an issue. I think to lead our young women higher. And so I'm taking it in the context of leaders of a women's institution that we really must be quite honorable role models for women and live up to the values that we aspire to embed in our students.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much for joining me on Lead Her Higher. Your reflections on leadership and resilience and vision are just a gift. And I know I've had the pleasure of having so many conversations with you in the past, but I am still learning today, and I really just appreciate your time that
Thank
you
you,
lead with
Emily.
such heart and strength, and it is always so nice to catch up. So thank you so much, Karen.
An honor for me to do this, and I am so proud of Emily MacLean.
Thanks, Karen.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Lead Her Higher. I hope you're leaving today inspired by Karen Jurjevich's leadership journey, from her decades of leadership at Branksome Hall, and now as she transitions into the world of entrepreneurship and consulting, to the lessons she learned about risk, resilience, and the power of empowering young women. Her reflections on balancing tradition with innovation, navigating failure, and asserting your voice as a woman in leadership are lessons we can all carry forward. Until next time, lead with courage, lift others up, and always lead her higher.